They had been camping for 2 days now, and so far everything was going well. But as soon as the sun went down last night, all hell broke loose. There were 5 of them. Riley, the one who had suggested they go to this place called the Whispering Woods. It was supposed to be a fun little weekend getaway, but now no one was having fun. And then there was Jenna, Riley's girlfriend, who insisted they should just leave and go back home after what happened yesterday. Then we have Sean and Maya, the happy couple. And lastly, Noah, who was still trying to get over his breakup with Riley. It all started last night when they were sitting around the campfire, and they started hearing voices, whispering their names from all around them. They sat there frozen in fear as the whispers got louder and closer. "I don't like this at all," Noah said, his voice shaking. "We should probably go home." "Stop being such a scaredy cat," Riley said, though his own voice betrayed him, as it was an octave higher than usual. "There's nothing out there but trees." But even as he said it, a twig snapped behind them and they all jumped in their seats. The whispering suddenly stopped, leaving an eerie silence in its wake. "See? Nothing," Riley said, trying to sound brave. But his attempt failed miserably. As the minutes passed, the whispering started again, only now it sounded like it was coming from right outside the camp. And it wasn't just the wind. They could make out words now, their names, their real names, being called out one by one. "Jenna, Jenna, come out wherever you are," a voice whispered. Jenna screamed and hid her face in her hands. "We have to get out of here," she cried. "I don't want to be here anymore." Riley grabbed her hand and squeezed it reassuringly, though his own heart was pounding in his chest. He didn't want to admit it, but he was scared too. They spent the rest of the night huddled around the fire, too afraid to go to sleep. And when the first rays of sunlight finally peeked through the trees, they quickly packed up their things and left the Whispering Woods behind. But the moment they stepped out of the trees into the bright sunlight, they heard it again, right beside them. Maya screamed, pointing to a log. "Did you see that?" she cried. "I thought I saw something move." They all looked at the log, but it was just a log. Still, they didn't stick around to find out. They quickly got back into their car and drove off, the whispering voices following them all the way until they were out of earshot. "That was crazy," Noah said, his voice still shaking. "I can't believe that was real." "It was real," Jenna said, her eyes wide with fear. "I know it sounds stupid, but I swear we were being followed." They all looked at each other, their faces pale and drawn. They had never experienced anything like this before. From that day on, the whispering voices became their worst nightmare. They couldn't escape them no matter where they went. They would hear them in their own homes, in the middle of the night. They would wake up from their sleep with the feeling that someone had been watching them while they slept. And then there were the dreams. Oh God, the dreams. Every single night, they would dream of the Whispering Woods, of the voices calling them from the darkness, beckoning them to come back. But it was Riley who suffered the most. He had always been the adventurous one, the leader of the pack, if you will. But now he was a shell of his former self. The whispering had broken him. He would wake up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, his heart pounding in his chest. He would spend the rest of the night pacing around their house, unable to sleep, unable to stop the whispering in his head. Jenna tried her best to be there for him, but she was struggling herself. She could see how the whispering was taking over Riley, how it was slowly driving him insane. One night, she woke up to the sound of glass breaking. And when she went to check on Riley, she found him standing in the middle of their living room, staring at the floor, his clothes torn and bloodied. "Riley, what happened to you?" she cried, rushing to his side. "What did you do?" He looked up at her, his eyes wide and vacant, and whispered, "They're here." Before Gianna could say another word, Riley bolted out of the door and into the night, leaving Jenna standing there in the middle of the mess, crying out his name. She called the police, told them he had gone missing and begged them to find him. Please, please, find him. But they didn't. The police searched everywhere they could think of, but there was no sign of Riley anywhere. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, but still there was no sign of Riley. The police eventually closed the case, citing it as a missing persons. But Jenna never gave up hope. She still had faith that they would find him, that he was out there somewhere and that he would come back to her. Meanwhile, Noah and Maya couldn't take it anymore. They decided to move away from that town, from that state. They needed a fresh start, a new beginning. They found an apartment in a big city, one that was far away from the Whispering Woods. But no matter where they went, the whispering followed them. One day, Maya woke up in the middle of the night to the sound of scratching at her bedroom window. She sat up in bed and stared at the window. Whatever was out there was trying to get in. She screamed for Noah, but he was a deep sleeper and didn't hear her. So she got out of bed and went to the window to try to figure out what was out there. When she opened the window, the scratching stopped and she heard a voice that sent shivers down her spine. "Let me in, Maya. Let me in, and I won't hurt you," the voice whispered. Maya screamed and slammed the window shut. She turned around to lock it when she heard another voice. This one sent chills down her spine. "Let her in, Noah. Let her in and we'll play together forever." Noah stirred in his sleep, but Maya quickly put her finger to her lips, signaling him to stay quiet. "Who's there?" Noah asked, his voice groggy with sleep. "Just go back to sleep." "Noah," Maya whispered, her voice shaking. It was probably just a cat or something. But Noah wasn't convinced. He got out of bed and walked over to the window. When he opened it, the whispering voices grew louder. "Let me in. Noah, let me in," they whispered. Noah slammed the window shut and turned to Maya, his face pale and drawn. "We have to get out of here," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "This isn't safe. We need to leave." But where could they go? The whispering had followed them everywhere. They couldn't escape it. Not now. Not ever. Then they heard it again, right beside them, so close that it made their skin crawl. "You can't escape us. Maya, Noah, you're ours forever," the voices whispered. And then they were gone. What had happened to them? Had the whispering driven them mad? Or was there something else at play here? Something evil. Something that wanted them dead. Maybe it was the Whispering Woods. Maybe it was the voices. Or maybe it was something else entirely. All they knew was that they were being watched, stalked, hunted, and they could run, they could hide, but they couldn't escape what was coming for them. In the end, it didn't matter where they went, where they hid, because it always found them. And it was patient. Oh, so patient. It waited for them to let their guard down, to make one wrong move, and then it struck. And the worst part was they never saw it coming. They never stood a chance.